KZOOMers.
Hey, so good to see you.
So good to see you. And to have this hour of practice together. Mm-hmm. I am healing well with your support. And
your surgery went really well.
And last night, a very good friend of ours, Rib Shaya Eisenberg, died, and so we're really feeling his loss. I've known him for 40 years, and he's just been kind of a close friend, and also he married us.
Shaya and Bahira, his wife, they married us 22 years ago.
Yeah. So just like a dear soul, and I, during this whole time of healing from my service from my surgery, I kept trying to tune into like being held by the beloved, and the way it felt was that I was tuning into a larger reality. That reality was the reality of love that is holding me. But I need to open to that love, to that divine embrace. And so I felt like I was really wanting to, and Rumi says that to find the beloved, you must become the beloved. And all through the Song of Songs, there is a theme of presence and absence, and presence and absence, and then presence in absence. The sense of the absence of the beloved actually brings the presence even clearer. And this morning when I woke up and found that Shaya had died, I felt his absence as a presence. I felt him much more clearly because of his absence in this world, but his presence in all the worlds. And then there was like a flurry of emails on the Ohala list and different lists, and there was something that Reb Tirza Firestone wrote, a blessing, that really touched me. And he said, "May Rav Shaya's neshama, his soul, soar now over every hurdle, past every doubt, into the infinitely loving and boundless space of the beloved." Into the infinitely loving and boundless space of the beloved. And when I read that, I thought, oh, that's what I want for all of us. And this idea of the beloved is a boundless space, and a loving space that we enter into, and by entering into that, we expand. Because because it's not a constricted space. It is a boundless space. And so that boundlessness actually inspires us to step into our own immensity, our own identity as beloved ourselves. So I want to dedicate this KZOOM to Shaya's, the journey of his soul into that loving and boundless space of the beloved, and I think we do that by doing it ourselves, by stepping out of the constricted space of our doubts and hurdles, and into that boundlessness. So I want to begin with it. So I want to begin with this practice that's called beloved. And it says I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. We belong to one another. We are connected in oneness, in love, and it is that connection that through which I find out who I am, through that sense of the beloved. So let's start there and just get a little glimpse. And I think that what we do in this, when we say, I am my beloved and my beloved is mine, we are giving ourselves to that possibility of this larger reality. And then that larger reality gives itself to us.
Ani ledodi, ledodili. Ani ledodi, ledodili. Ani ledodi, ledodili.
Try to take a hand when you say ani, the dodi, li, to really feel it. And when you say dodi, make it kind of a wide gesture of like, this larger reality is my beloved.
Ani le dodi, le dodi li. Ani le dodi.
My dear teacher Henry Nouwen says, "Dear friend, being the beloved is the origin and the fulfillment of the life of the spirits." I say this because as soon as we catch a glimpse of this truth, We are put on a journey in search of the fullness of that truth, and we will not rest until we can rest in that truth. From the moment we claim the truth of being the beloved, we are faced with the call to become who we are. Becoming the beloved is the great spiritual journey we have to make. And how I understand that is that I am opening up to this larger reality that is holding me. I am receiving its grace. And as I was contemplating what are the pathways to that place of being the beloved, I chose 3 different practices that represent different pathways to that same place of beloved. And so in this KZOOM, I want to sort of try out these different pathways. And the first pathway comes out of a story of Elijah. And he is running for his life. He's hiding in a cave. He is calling on the beloved, and what he experiences is the wind, the earthquake, the fire, and all of that wind and the earthquake and the fire to me represent what we need to go through in order to find the beloved. This is the pathway. Maybe we wouldn't necessarily choose this pathway, but it is the pathway of being human. That's and then what happens is, after the wind, after the earthquake, and after the fire, there comes the kol d'mamas Dakah, the still small voice, and it is the still small voice of the beloved, reminding us of who we are, and that stillness and smallness and softness of that voice is only known because of of the wind and the earthquake and the fire that we just went through. And so we want to kind of step into that place of after the fire. So, there's when I think about even just the trauma of losing Shaya this morning, it's like such a sort of a tumult inside me, and or going through my surgery, or all the other things that are happening in the world. We walk through it with holding that place of our center and our remembrance of where we're going, and step through it into the silence, and there we listen. And the still small voice comes not necessarily as a sound or in words, but it comes to us as a sense of the beloved, and reminding us of who we are and what we are inside of. So we take that journey together with supporting one another through it. And the chant that I created, really, I want to sort of feel both the fire and that still small voice. And so there's a different kind of tone of voice we want to kind of conjure up. And so just listen to it once. It says, Ve'achar ha'esh, ve'achar ha'esh, kol d'mama dakah. Ve'achar ha'esh, ve'achar ha'esh, kol d'mama dakah. Ve'achar ha'esh, האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. So you hear that kind of it's in the wind, the earthquake, the fire, and then that place within us that we're touching. So ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש
קול דממה דקה.
ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה דקה. ואחר האש ואחר האש קול דממה Ve'achar ha'esh, ve'achar ha'esh, kol dmama Close your eyes. Let's take a couple minutes just to listen within. After all of that wind and earthquake and fire, we listen into what's deeply inward. And as we encounter that wind and that earthquake and that fire of our lives, come back to that blessing that says, over every hurdle, past every doubt, into the infinitely loving and boundless space of the beloved. So we are sent there by the tumult of our lives into that stillness, kind of catapulted inward. And sometimes right in the midst of it, all the fire, we can just take a moment to go there. So that I see as one of the pathways to the beloved. And the second pathway that I want to explore is the pathway what a practice they call taking refuge in you, and it's really it is the acknowledgement that grace is always flowing. So the grace that is always flowing is something I need to open to, and the way that I do that is through the impulse, the gesture of taking refuge in. So when I take refuge in something, I go from my little small self, and I put that little smallness into something that is much larger, into that larger reality. I kind of leave that smallness and step into that larger reality. I take refuge in something that is beyond even my understanding. When I do that, it kind of unlocks the flow of grace. Or maybe the flow of grace is always unlocked, but I'm not always there to receive it. And that impulse of taking refuge opens up the place in me that can receive that grace. So I'm sort of feeling, like at this moment, that's what we need to do, is to surrender the illusion of control, give ourselves to that larger reality, and then open to the grace that is always flowing. And so the chant says, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni Elohim, which I translate as pour out your grace to me, oh God. But and so it has that word Chanayni twice. Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni. And that it happens when my soul takes refuge in you. Kivecha, chasayah nafshi. And the nafshi is kind of the lowest, most separate embodied layer of my soul, gives itself to the larger reality. When that happens, then your grace flows to me, God. So I want to just I feel like this is a pathway to the beloved, and a pathway to becoming the beloved. And so we have the first pathway being the pathway through the fire that takes us to the still small voice. And then the second pathway is this inner gesture of taking refuge and opening to the flow of grace. See if we can do that. Just using these words. The chant is just kind of the outer shell of what we're actually, of something that we're doing. So I'm going to invite us all to do that, to find inside us that place of surrender and an opening to this grace that is flowing.
Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, oh Kivecha, chasayah nafshi, Kivecha, chasayah nafshi, Kivecha, chasayah nafshi, Kivecha, chasayah nafshi.
So, isn't it? I just have to stop and say, when I sing chasayah, I'm thinking chasayah.
Oh, Shia.
Shaya.
Thinking of you, buddy.
Yeah. So, start again.
Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni. Oh, ki v'cha chasayah nafshi. Chasayah nafshi, oh ki v'cha chasayah nafshi, ki v'cha chasayah nafshi. Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim. Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, oh ki v'cha chasayah nafshi, ki v'cha chasayah nafshi, oh ki v'cha chasayah nafshi, ki v'cha chasayah nafshi. Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni. Oh, ki v'cha chasayah nafshi. Chasayah nafshi, oh ki v'cha chasayah nafshi, ki v'cha chasayah nafshi. Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim. Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, oh ki v'cha chasayah nafshi, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni. Oh, kivacha, chasayah nafshi. Kivacha, chasayah nafshi. Oh, kivacha, chasayah nafshi. Kivacha, chasayah nafshi. Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni, Chanayni Elohim, Chanayni. Oh, kivacha, chasayah nafshi. Kivacha, chasayah nafshi. Oh, kivacha, chasayah nafshi. Kivacha, chasayah nafshi.
So as we give ourselves to life, to that wholeness, and we give over to that, and then life breaks us open. We are broken open by the earthquake, by the fire, by the wind. And then we come in this most vulnerable way to the beloved, who kind of reaches inside us and finds that truth that is touched and opened by life. And to, as Rumi says, to know the beloved, we must become the beloved, which means that we do need to turn inward. And when we turn inward, we find inside us a kind of a bud that is the potential, this kind of the bud of this kind of primordial flower that we are. But it is closed up, it is tight, it is defended. And you can't pry open a bud, you know. You can't do that. It's not going to work. But that bud inside us opens with our loving attention. It opens with our recognition, and so we turn inward. We see that beloved that we are, in its potential form of that bud, and we bring all of our love to that bud inside the heart, and surround it, water it, shine on light on it, illuminate it, have faith in this idea of becoming, that we are we're becoming who we are through what happens to us in life, how we are broken open by life.
And how we respond to it.
Yeah. And if we can respond to life not by closing off, but by opening to, what is that card that says life doesn't happen
To
you, it happens for you.
Yeah.
And to be able to receive what is happening, that is happening for the benefit of that opening. So the last practice I want to do as a pathway to the beloved is called Awaken, and it comes from a Yom Kippur Morning Piyyut, a poem, and it says, "Awaken as bright light, the rose of the depths." So it's saying, like, yes, you have that rose bud deep inside you, and all of life is for the purpose of awakening that, of transforming that bud into the fullness of your being. That, I love the mixed metaphor of awakening as bright light, this rose of the depths. So before we chant this, I thought we might want to just to look around the KZOOM room, because I think it's really important that we do this practice in a way that we are seeing that potential in each other. We are calling it forth with our faith, with our vision, with our sense of possibility, and we're inspiring each other in our practice. So I think that all of these faces really matter. That I take great, not only delight, but encouragement in seeing your faces. An encouragement to do the work of awakening. So close your eyes for a moment and just use a visualization of that tight bud inside your heart. And we're going to be chanting to that bud, that rose of the depths. So that in the silence after the chant, we can take a breath and we can allow it to open of its own accord. So we're chanting to it now. Oraryr, nogah, Oraryr, nogah, Oraryr, nogah, shoshanat hamakim, 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 Oraryr, nogah, Oraryr, nogah, Oraryr,
shoshanat hamakim Oraryr nogah Oraryr nogah Oraryr nogah shoshanat hamakim Oraryr nogah Oraryr nogah shoshanat hamakim Oraryr nogah Oraryr nogah shoshanat hamakim shoshanat hamakim Oraryr nogah nogah shoshanat hamakim shoshanat hamakim shoshanat hamakim shoshanat hamakim shoshanat hamakim.
So close your eyes and tune back into that image of the bud inside your heart. And bring your attention to the breath now. And on the next breath, breathe into that rose and allow it to open. Just allow it to open. And see that rose on its infinite petals. Opening, 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 opening into the boundlessness of the beloved. And you might want to open your eyes now and see the garden. I was reminded of a teaching by Ram Dass that says when we see the beloved in each person, it's like walking through a garden, watching flowers bloom all around us. So here we are in this garden here, watching each other blossom. So before I stop the recording, and I just want to send you all to your to the beloved, you know, and that blessing for Rav Shaya's neshama is a blessing for all of us to soar now over every hurdle, past every doubt, into the infinitely loving and boundless space of the beloved. So I want to bless us all with that blessing, and invite you to stop by the website, come sign up for a retreat, give a little donation. We are so grateful that we get to be together, and it is
do this holy work together.
the most healing